Howdy ho, you handsome hunk. Grab a snack and gain some chunk. If your day is great or really sunk, we hope to help you shake the funk. So if you're good to hear some junk, buckle up, it's the Junk Monk Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Junk Monk Podcast. I'm your host, Kandyce Sloan, who you know from Instagram at Hardens and Hardhats.
And I'm Noah, your co-host, you know from at Noah Hernandez.
If this is your first time listening, let us fill you in. We are watching and reviewing every episode of the USA hit TV show Monk right here each week.
And we're going to do so while eating a little bit of junk. So, Kandyce has been keeping her junk, or our junk, a little bit of a secret.
Well, it's not a super secret. It's from the baby shower. So remember at the end of last week's episode, I was headed to the baby shower. Okay, well, I confiscated some little items for us. So we have Oreo balls.
This is all a week old, by the way. It's been sitting in the fridge.
And some macaroons.
Macaroons?
Yes, which we'll get into during junk time. But I've never tried macaroons before.
It's macaroon.
It's macaroons. You see, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Macaroons.
I thought it was French. Macaroons.
Yeah, but you don't say it like that.
How would you say it in French?
Macaroon.
Oh.
Macaron.
Macaron. Like a croissant?
Macroissant.
Yeah, I got some macarons. Okay. Also, you must know I've seen every episode of Monk. I'm a huge fan. Started watching in 2007 and for the most part watched it as it aired.
I have seen seasons 1 and 2 and those we've done on the show and a few scattered here and there in different seasons.
So, if you're ready to start the show, Toby, take it away.
Here's what happened.
All right, this is Mr. Monk and the Magician, Season 7, Episode 15. So here's what happened. In the opening scene, we see Magician, the Great Torini, meeting with some drug lords overseas who are asking him to help deliver heroin to the streets of San Francisco. He obliges, and next we see Kevin Dorfman, Torini's personal CPA, discovering some inconsistencies in the numbers. Torini assures Kevin it's no big deal and asks him to forget all about it. He does, however, ask him to fill in for his Saturday night show as he is going to Reno to ask his assistant Tanya to marry him. An excited Kevin begins practicing for Natalie and Monk and even invites them to the show. After Kevin's terrible performance, he heads backstage, but when he doesn't ever come back, Monk goes to search for him in his dressing room and finds him dead. Monk quickly pegs Torini as the guy, but his alibi, a pre-show phone call from Reno, is airtight. Monk does figure out the why when he realizes that the hidden storage compartments and the magic equipment would be a great way to smuggle drugs. He gets his confirmation during a trick on stage after using a drug swab inside the box. After Monk confronts the magician in front of his audience, he makes him disappear into the basement with the assistant Tanya. It's there that Monk sees the how, a phone line extension. Turns out that Torini and Tanya had in fact gone to Reno, but Torini made sure to be seen and then headed back to Kevin's show. Tanya called the theater on the line from Reno, and Torini picked up the basement extension to appear he was in Reno all along as he announced his engagement to the team. The rest of the gang is able to find Monk just in time, and it's Abracadorfman for the Great Torini.
I liked whenever she said Abracadorfman.
Yeah.
Oh, she said Abracadorfman, he son of a... And then she swears.
Yeah. All right, guys, that was Mr. Monk and the Magician.
Kandyce, what did you like about this episode?
That was a great first like that you said there. Mm-hmm. But let's see what I have. Return of Kevin. Woohoo.
Yep.
Or Abracadorfman, right? His magic show was horrendous.
It was so bad.
It was so
bad. It was so much worse whenever there were so many people there. Because I didn't think it was that bad when he was with Natalie and Monk. And then there was a ton of people. And it was so bad. It was just so bad. He was like, Natalie, there are 2 dead doves on that stage.
I thought there was 3. I think there was 3.
3 dead doves.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
It was so funny. He killed the 3 doves, yeah, and then his head is bleeding. Like, during his act, and you don't know why.
What?
Did you not realize that? He had a big gash on his forehead. Obviously, some trick went wrong, and he was bleeding from it. And then the bunny, the one trick that he does right, and he's like, oh, the bunny in the box, and then he opens it, and he's like, and everyone's like, oh, not too bad. And he's like, okay, thank you for coming to the show, and then his like pants start twitching around. It's like, just ignore that. So the disappearing bunny, and then he gets caught in the line at the beginning, that black line or whatever, and then he's like, getting wrapped up in it. So yeah, his show was absolutely terrible. So
bad. I just liked the idea of a magician drug dealer at the very beginning when like he's talking to the guys in, I forget where they are.
They're in Thailand?
In Thailand.
Yeah, they're in Thailand, yeah.
When he's talking to those guys in Thailand and he's like, they're like making a deal and he's doing these tricks, I'm like getting excited.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, this is cool. This is going to be a good episode.
Yep.
I really like that.
I have Kevin's funeral. It's hereditary, they said. So
It's
first,
a dominant trait.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's a dominant trait. So first you see the guy, and he looks very similar to Kevin. He's probably his cousin or his uncle or something. Yeah. And he's like, Kevin, he helped me clean out my gutters, except for the garage. We didn't have gutters in the garage. We do now, but we didn't have them back then. And he just keeps going on and on
like,
about.
We got him installed like 3 weeks ago. And he's just talking about his gutter.
Yeah, got installed a couple weeks ago. Speaking of, and then it like pans over, and then Natalie and Monk are like, oh wow, this is, like you said, the dominant trait, right? And then the aunt walks up, and it's really sincere and sweet, and they like give her a hug, and you're thinking like, oh, that's like...
She touches Monk all over the face, too.
Oh, she does? I didn't notice that.
She grabs his cheeks.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Oh, yeah, because she was saying, like, I feel like I know you. I feel like you're family. Because me and Kevin, that's our thing. We talk, every single Sunday. Well, except for one. Oh, no, she's even more dramatic than that. Because she's like, I talk to him every single Sunday. Nope, I tell a lie. We missed a Sunday.
12 and a half years ago, I was on what did she say?
She was on a cruise for her mahjong group.
Oh, yeah.
And then they missed that Sunday, but they made up for it when she got back. They talked twice.
Once on Friday, once on Sunday.
Yes. And then there was that one time her telephone service cut out, but that was on a Tuesday, so that doesn't count against the Sundays. And Natalie's like, I just forgot I'm thirsty. She's like, you forgot you were thirsty? She's like, yeah. It's been so busy, everything going on. It's so funny. Oh, and then the photoshopped picture of Kevin. And Monk's like, oh, that's a great photo. And she's like, Natalie's like, yeah. I searched for hours to find one where he wasn't talking. And he's like, oh, well, you got a good one. She's like, yeah, I had to Photoshop it. Oh, gosh, it's so good.
I liked Dorfman in general. It was creative.
That was, okay.
Dorfman.
That is a little bit of a dislike. Not the Dorfman. Really? It's not the Dorfman part, but it goes into my dislike. And is that why they killed him off? Like,
what do you
they
mean?
thought like, oh, Dorfman would be so clever. Like,
oh, like, oh my gosh, guys, there's we need to kill someone. And it's like, but Dorfman, like, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or something like that. It's like one of those jokes that fits so perfectly. You're like, how did they come up with that joke after they cast Kevin to be killed?
Yeah, as if they centered it around
Dorfman. Yeah, right? I mean, I'm sure that's not how it happened.
Yeah.
Right. I know writers are, like, so creative that, they probably were going to kill Kevin off. And like, okay, oh my gosh, Dorfman, that's great. You know what I mean? It probably happened like that, but it just seems like that's something a normal person would come up with and then be like, yeah, let's center the whole episode around that.
Yeah.
So, let's see what else. Okay, I put halfway decent Torini. You remember Kevin says that because he says, I think he said it at the beginning. He's like, wow, because I don't know what Torini's saying to him, but Kevin is like, oh, he's like, you're definitely the greatest Torini I've ever seen. Well, I haven't even seen any other Torinis, so I wouldn't know if they were like halfway decent Torinis or anything. So I put halfway decent Torini because obviously we don't like him because he kills Kevin and he's a murderer and he's, cocky and everything. But he was a great criminal.
And a magician.
Loved it. Oh, and a great magician.
Yeah.
Yes. So I thought he was a great criminal. It was so good because like magic and magician stuff, they're like inherently deceptive.
Yeah.
So that going with the mystery is perfect. And I thought he was just such a good foe for Monk. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, the magic tricks. Do you have anything about that or?
No.
No? Mm-mm. Okay. So I didn't list them all, but I was impressed by all of them, even though it's obviously like fake, whatever. But the newspaper, he has the newspaper that he rips up. Oh, and then he walks over and it's all ripped up in his hand, and then he boom and folds it out, and he's like, "Oh, how's the weather?" And that was really good. And then he just kept doing like disappearing acts, like whenever he when they first got into his like lair or whatever that was, they have the smoke,
And
you're
he's
expecting to
behind them.
And they're like, how'd you do that? And it's like, well, obvious, he wasn't over there. But yeah.
You walked behind them.
But that's like deception, and that's like the whole thing. The dress trick, I was super impressed with that one.
That was sick.
With the
That doesn't even make sense.
I know.
I
feel like I know how they do that.
That had to have been a camera trick.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. These all were, because the guy's an actor. He's not a magician.
Well, yeah.
But
like, you can't do that in real life. There's no way. That's not a real thing.
you can, yeah.
You can't?
I think I know how they do it. Well, I don't know. We'll talk about that later. But also, the watch trick at the very beginning with the drug lords. And the guy has the gun in his face. And he's like, give him back his watch. And then he's like, why don't you ask him? Mm-hmm. And then the guy's like, and just like on his hand. And he takes it off and puts it on the gun or whatever. That was good. And then the sugar, when he puts the sugar in his drink. And, he puts it in his hand. And then he pours it into the other. Oh my gosh. Every single time. Every trick I was like mesmerized. And then, like Natalie and Monk can't even like enjoy it because they're all pissed off.
Yeah.
And I'm like.
I liked the one where he's like, you know what? I might as well confess. You know what? I'll write it down. And he writes it down and he gives it to Monk and then it goes up in flames. That was sick.
Yeah.
That was probably the coolest one. Kevin being worried about the people watching the show when it's only Natalie and Monk. He's like, get in the box, Monk. People are watching. You're gonna ruin their nights. Whenever he's practicing with Natalie and Monk.
Yeah. He's practicing.
Yeah, he's like, you're gonna ruin their night. Come on, Monk. Come on. Because he's like, I'm not gonna get into that. Uh-huh. He's like, he's super like sad for everyone in the audience, and there's nobody there.
Oh, yeah. I think that's in a different section. But I have a go Natalie. She totally confronts Torini, which is the part I was just talking about, where they're in the lair and the guy's just trying to impress them with magic tricks. And he's like, oh, tough crowd. And then he starts getting cocky because I think Monk says, no, I saw you at the place. Like, I know I saw you. And then so the guy knows Monk is right. So he starts getting defensive and getting mad. And he's like, and that's when he does the confession thing. And then it poofs into his hand and then they get pissed. And Natalie confronts him and he's like, he was our friend. He had his whole life ahead of him. He was the kindest, sweetest man I know. And this man, Adrian Monk, is the best detective in the world. And he's going to figure out how you did it. And Monk is like holding her back. Yeah. Like he's trying to like push her back. It's so good. Mm-hmm. Like I was like, go Natalie, get him Natalie. Yeah. She was sticking up for Kevin so much.
Yeah, she snapped.
It was so awesome. Sweet.
I liked whatever the assistant, the girl, what's her name? Tanya. She's like, they get into this weird layer thing, mm-hmm. and they're looking at these bunnies, and they're, I forget if it comes first or after, but they're looking at the bunnies, and Natalie's trying to touch them, and then he was like, Natalie! And she was like, it's okay, she can touch them. And he's like, no, she cannot.
And then, what is he? Because she's like, oh, we breed them. Like, we breed them ourselves.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, they breed in here, in this room. What the? Like, we have to get out of here. He's like, do you never just, like, cover them up so you can't see them? Oh, my gosh, it was funny. I also liked her. I didn't write that down, but I liked that she had a conscience.
Yeah.
Good for her.
She was very both-sided.
Yeah.
I enjoyed
Well, I mean, she was both-sided, but she was helping. Well, yeah, she did help him murder someone, so that's pretty bad. But then when she had to murder someone herself, so I guess she's not that good of a person. But anyway,
yeah,
all right.
What?
Well, I forgot that she helped him kill Kevin.
Yeah.
So I didn't think of it that way. But anyways, when Monk figures it out, he confronts Torini also because he's in the box on stage. And that was great, too, when Monk is inside the box, and he's like, do it for Kevin, do it for Kevin, do it for Kevin.
Oh, yeah.
And then he takes the drug swab and swabs the thing for the heroin, and it comes up positive. And then he sticks it out of the hole, and Torini's face is like, what is that? And he's like, it's a drug test. This box has heroin in it. And then, and then this is the part that I liked. He's like, you smuggled drugs into this country. Here's what happened. And the guy's like, and shuts the hole in his face. And he's like, did I happen to mention that the box makes people a little kooky or something? I don't know. Does he have an accent or no?
Yeah,
he does, right? That just wasn't a good one. But it doesn't sound like him. But anyway, so I love how he slams the door in his face. But obviously he's doing that because he totally rattled him. Like, the whole time he's been so cocky. Oh, I forgot to mention this part where he's levitating. Remember, he's levitating on his chair, and Natalie's, like, yelling at him, like, you know, Kevin Dorfman was a great man, blah, blah, blah. And then Tarini is, like, levitating off his chair, and he's like, that's my favorite look, the look of...
I don't remember.
The look of confusion when they can't figure out how I did it.
He says that before she says all that. I love this part. Yeah.
The look on their face when they can't figure it out.
This isn't some trick.
Yeah.
This isn't a
But he's not levitating.
He's levitating right there.
What the crap?
person I ever met when he was 34 and his life was just getting started.
Oh my god.
This is the most brilliant detective in the world. He's gonna figure out how he did it.
He's levitating.
Aren't you?
And Monk's trying to figure it out, yeah.
I did not notice that. I was too focused on Natalie.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's the whole thing. Because he keeps messing with them. And so she gets mad, yeah. Do you have any more likes or no?
No, I don't. I think you took, like, all of them. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm sorry. Well, why don't... If you have lots of likes...
my next like is Kevin talking too much on his video will.
Yep.
I love that.
That's my last thing.
Whenever he's dead, and he's on his will, and then... Natalie and Monk try to get annoyed, and then she's like, do you want me to skip it? And Monk's like, no. That's so sad.
I wrote it down.
Of course he did.
He goes, it's like, I'm Kevin Dorfman. If you're watching this, I'm dead. Or it's me watching it back. Or I lent it to you by mistake. I put it in the wrong sleeve. Or you could be Phil, who's editing this. Or Phil is sick. It could be his assistant, Craig. Is it Craig or is it Greg? It's Greg. It's not Craig. It's Greg. I'm so sorry I messed up your name. Craig left 2 years ago. Yeah, to get his real estate license. Or I don't know if it was a real estate license, but it was some kind of license. It was a licenses? Licensees? How do you say that? So we went from I'm Kevin, this is my will, to who's watching it? Phil's assistant, not his actual assistant, his assistant that left 2 years ago, and what he's going to go get a real estate license? Maybe not. What? That is crazy. And then my other thing I didn't say was Abracadorfman.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I put that too. Wait, oh my god, we have the same exact likes. I'm not even joking.
The bunnies? No, yeah, I didn't.
I knew it. I'm better than you.
Okay. All right, so we zipped through those because we had the same exact ones.
I know. What did you... Oh my god, I have like 0.
Okay, since I took all of your likes, why don't you just tell me what your dislikes were, and I won't repeat them.
Okay. At the beginning... dang it, my first one's not even a dislike. I was confused because I didn't know if it was Kevin Dorfman or not, but it was, because I didn't know if it was the actual actor for him, but it was.
Oh.
He just shaved his head or something. I don't know. There's something different about him. So my first dislike is Kevin dying.
Yep.
Which is pretty obvious. And then my second dislike is me knowing that Kevin was going to die. And it being painfully obvious.
Okay.
Did you not notice?
Okay, I did. But the first time that it happened, the first time it happened, like it happened multiple times. The first time I watched it, I had no clue. And then Kevin was dead, and I was like, what? Are you kidding me? But this time, because I knew Kevin was going to die because I'd seen it before. Oh. So when I watched it back, I was like, that was pretty obvious that he was going to kill Kevin. I wonder if Noah thought that.
Yeah, it was super
But
obvious.
you did. So.
He's like, I found out you were smuggling things. Oh, really? Cool. Don't forget about it. Yeah, forget about it. Don't tell anyone. It's like, well, duh, he's going to die. I think I have one more.
Okay. Let me see.
Oh!
Okay.
Monk at the very end, whenever Tanya, the assistant, is trying to save Monk, and she's the key in her mouth.
Yeah.
And it's so cringy. She's the key in her mouth, and she's like trying to kiss Monk, or not kiss him.
Yeah.
But like give it to him like from his mouth.
Yeah.
For her mouth to his mouth. And he just he closed his lips and was like, no. Yeah. He's just, no, not having it. And then he put it on the floor. He like threw it on the floor.
It's like, pfft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the magician guy found it, or like saw it, because it was super obvious. Mm-hmm. And then he was like, oh, okay. And then like tries to kill her or something. Yeah, he tries to kill her. It's like, really, Monk? Are you kidding me? Like, I wouldn't want to do that, but don't throw it on the floor and get this girl killed, too.
Yeah. It was definitely, like, cringy, but, like, I guess you can't blame the girl because she didn't... Well, no, that is a dislike. I did write it down. Why didn't the assistant just try to strangle Tarini?
That's what she had the wire, like, right around his neck.
And she's like... And you're like, oh, she's going to kill him. And she's like... steps in front of Tarini and is like, goodbye, Mr. Monk. You're like, well, what the heck? Yes, that was a total dislike. Okay, I totally forgot that I wrote that down. Okay, I put, in the very first scene, you mentioned this, like I said, I put in dislikes, but Natalie and Kevin want Monk to get into the box. What's the point of that? They both know he's claustrophobic. Yeah, because he's like, and he volunteers, and she's like, go, Mr. Monk, go on. And he's like, no. And she's like, yeah, go on. I'm like, really, Natalie? Let's see. One out of the two of you is not claustrophobic. Why doesn't the person that's not claustrophobic get in the box? And then, because they spend like, just get in the box. You're going to ruin everyone's night. Come on. It's like, for one, there's nobody there. And for two, you both know how long it's going to take to get him in the box. And then he's going to have a freaking heart attack in there. So I did not like that at all. Okay, of course, I already said, why did they have to kill Kevin? But I followed up with a like to say that it did make for this episode to be like a better storyline and like more important because it was like you're emotionally invested because it has to do with Kevin. If it just had to do with somebody else, some random person, then which I guess you could have enjoyed the magic a little bit more because you wouldn't have cared, you know, like how Natalie's like, I don't care about the magic because you killed my friend. So double-edged sword there, but yes, why did they kill Kevin? And then, the scene where Monk was so sad about Kevin. Like, he felt bad because Kevin was dead and Kevin annoyed him so much. And he's like, Natalie.
Oh, yeah.
I'm upset about something. And she's like, what is it, Mr. Monk? He's like, he just annoyed me, drove me insane so bad. And sometimes, whenever I would hear him coming, I would just turn off all the lights. And then Natalie's like, yes.
Is it a dislike?
Well, I didn't like that. Like, I felt bad that he felt bad about his friend who, he was feeling bad about that. Like, he was grieving, but also, like, he drove me insane. Yeah. So, like, he drove me crazy. Like, where he felt that, like, feeling. Like, that's kind of, like, it sucks to feel that way about someone who's dead, you know? Like, I kind of didn't like them. But I am sad they're dead. But they drove me crazy. So I just felt bad for him for that. But Natalie's like, don't worry, Mr. Monk. Sometimes when I see your name on the caller ID, I just ignore it. Yeah. And she's like, oh my God. Never mind.
Stuff. Yeah. That was so bad.
Oh, but then Monk is like, he's like, one time he talked for 2.5 hours about how sore his throat was and how much it hurt him to talk. I was like, that's good. And then my last dislike is it's a dislike, but not really, kind of. No real substantial Stottlemyre or Randy action in this episode. But the not dislike about it is I kind of didn't notice until I wasn't writing anything about either of them.
I did not notice that entire time.
Yeah.
Until you said it.
See? So I was like, oh, we didn't get... I just like when they're there. You know what I mean? I didn't miss them, if that makes sense, but I like when they're there. So I just put that down. So
I agree.
All right.
Grr. He's the guy.
All right. Do you have any he's the guys?
Nope. But I do recognize that guy. The magician guy.
Yeah.
Where's he from?
Honestly, I looked up his credits and he wasn't in a ton of things that I recognized. His name is Steve Valentine. Of course, he played the great Tarini. He was on an episode of Modern Family, Psych, Wizards of Waverly Place, House, and I know him from Will and Grace.
What's his name?
Steve Valentine.
You know him from Will and Grace?
Yeah.
No way.
Mm-hmm. That's like he was in one episode. I'll explain.
Oh, he was in Teen Beach Movie.
In what?
I recognize him from Teen Beach Movie.
Oh, Teen Beach Movie. I thought you were saying Teenage Movie. It's like, what?
Teen Beach Movie, yeah. Oh my God, he's the bad guy in it.
Oh, okay.
And Teen Beach Movie too. So, and Teen Beach Movie Sneak Peek.
Okay. Sneak peek.
And Teen Beach Movie After Party. And Teen Beach Movie 3. Teen Beach Movie 4.
What is Teen Beach Movie? Is it like a crappy movie?
Whoa. You don't know Teen Beach Movie?
Does it sound like that's their target audience is me?
No, probably teens on the beach. Teen Beach Movie. It's with Ross Lynch.
Marissa Lynch, what?
Ross Lynch.
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a classic. And Jordan Fisher.
None of these people look cool. Jordan Fisher also does not look cool.
He looks super cool. It's set in like the 80s. Or not the 80s. I forget what time it is. The 60s.
The 60s, yeah. That's what it looks like, 60s, yeah.
Yeah, because it's Greasers versus like the beach.
That's kind of
teen beaches.
50s, but yeah.
Yeah, it's 50s. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's about this. It's not important.
Is it a crappy movie? Or
it's just a
like
Disney Channel movie.
Oh, okay.
That's like it's a very classic like show for a kid my age or like older.
Oh, okay.
Like we all watch it when we were children.
Okay, well I was gonna tell a Will and Grace story.
I'll tell my Teen Beach Movie story. Okay, so it's about this kid. His name is, it doesn't matter. But his girlfriend is going to school somewhere. She going to some fancy school away from him, and he's sad, and it's like the last day they have together. But there's this big wave that's coming in, this huge wave, and they're like, he's like, because they're surfers, he's like, oh, we'll never get another wave like this again, and then she's like, fine. And so on their last day together, they go out of into the waves, and they surf, and then they go underwater, and then they come back out, and their hair is dry. And they're like, what? And this kid, the main kid, really likes old movies. And they have like this fancy surfboard, or like magic surfboard or something. I don't know. But they're in the 50s now. They're in a movie. Uh-huh. They're in a 50s movie. So they're in a musical.
Oh, God.
And he wants to be in the musical, so she won't leave. And she does not want to be in the musical because she does not like the musicals.
Ew.
And so I forget the song, and it's like me and Tobias said.
Tobias said. That's terrible.
We always sing this song, and it's like, oh my God, I forget how it goes. It's so good, but it's not. It's like it's like High School Musical, where it's like a classic, but it's horrible.
Oh, okay. Well, High School Musical is not horrible. But...
It's not horrible.
Like, don't watch it, buddy.
It's all right, but. Yeah, there's this...
I've heard of Teen Beach Movie, but when did the first one come out?
Like a long time.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Not a super long time.
Well, because when you said
like
that, I thought I knew what that was, but then I thought, well, there's no way Noah knows what that is. But I don't really know what it is, but I heard of it.
It's from 2013.
Oh yeah, I was in college. How did I know what that was then? I've heard of it, but
it's really good.
It actually sounds really good, and I liked that plot. That was cute.
There's this, because like everyone like my age knows the like choreography to all the things. They're like, because like it's super like iconic, and they're like dancing, and everyone knows it, and it's so funny, and everyone knows all the songs.
So
too.
how does Steve Valentine fit into it?
Okay, he doesn't actually fit into it that well, because here's the thing. This is my least favorite part of the entire movie. For some reason, there's villains. There's just two villains, and he's the skinny guy, and there's one fat guy, and they're just there for no reason. And I'm like, why? Mm-hmm. And they're like trying to sabotage like the surfers or something, and like they're trying to make a really really bad storm, and it's like it's not useful. But he's super recognizable in that movie.
Oh, okay. Huh.
So yeah.
Interesting.
That was a huge tangent. But yeah.
Okay, well that's what he's the guy's for. Maybe if somebody out there wants to watch Teen Beach Movie, it's 1, 2, and 3 after party, sequel, and prequel.
There's only 2.
Oh. Just in case you're disappointed like I am. There's only 1 and 2.
There's only 2, and the second one is about...
Did they recast everybody's totally different people? Or is it all the same people?
The second one is the same people, but instead of going into the 50s world, the 50s people go into their world. And they're super like...
Whoa, that's a twist.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Interesting. Okay.
It's sick. The second one's probably better. But the first one is like... I forget the song, but it's so good. It's like... it's like this girl and she's singing. She's like, "Can we stop singing?" And he's like, "No." And they're just like going through this entire movie. And, like, he knows everything because he's watched this movie a million times. Because it's a movie that he watches. And he's like, he knows all the steps and everything. And he's part of it. And it's so good. And she hates it. And he's like, come on, let's have some fun.
Aw.
It's okay.
It sounds cute, though.
Yeah, I know.
It sounds cute.
It's good.
Okay, he's on this episode of Will and Grace, and I get what you're saying, like, because he's a very recognizable person. Like, super recognizable. I will say, though, I got him mixed up with the vampire from, the vampire from, what episode?
The one with the
100th episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
She's very delectable.
Yeah. Okay, I did get him mixed up, but he's still super recognizable. And it's this episode of Will and Grace. Will and Grace have these old, boring friends named Rob and Ellen. And then they meet these new ager people, which is Steve Valentine and his girlfriend. And they're real goth and they dress in black and everything. And but they don't want to tell Rob and Ellen that they have new friends. They've been partying like every night with them. And Will and Grace are kind of older, like 30s.
Yeah.
So they kind of can't keep up with these guys. And so it's one of those kind of stories. But I just remember the funny line was Rob and Ellen show up to their apartment, I think, because they told them they were sick. Yeah. And so they're doing the whole, like, trying to keep them away from each other, the two couples. And they get Rob and Ellen out of the door, and Ellen's like, "Oh, I have to go to the bathroom. Can I go to the bathroom?" And Will's like, "Sure, go to Grace's apartment." And he's like, "Rob, go with her." And he's like, "To the bathroom?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, come on." And he's like, "Okay." So he goes with his wife to the bathroom. And then they do this whole switcheroo thing, and then he finally gets Rob and Ellen, like, out, back the other way, crisscross, and then Steve Valentine and his girlfriend, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna," he's like, "Okay, you go down and catch a cab," and he's like, "Oh, but he's British or whatever, he's like, "She's gotta go to the bathroom, the loo or whatever," and he's like, "Okay, well, then you go down and get the cab," and he's like, "Well, man, I gotta go with her." It's so stupid. That's like the joke that I remember him from. I don't know why, but it's so funny. He's like, "Why can't you not go with her?" And he's like, "I gotta go with her to the bathroom." That's funny. So, okay. And then my other person is Caroline Aaron, who played Sheila Dorfman, the aunt. Okay. I knew I recognized her. I was like, oh man, I recognize her from something. She is Shirley Maisel on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel with Tony Shalhoub.
Never seen it. Still haven't. I probably will watch it someday.
Yeah. It's a pretty adult show. I mean, like...
Is it boring?
No, it's not boring.
I
love Miss Maisel.
What is it even about?
Okay, Mrs. Maisel, at the very first episode, spoilers if you don't want to know what the first episode is about, or what the whole premise of the show is about, she finds out her husband's cheating on her. Actually, her husband walks in and says, "I'm leaving you." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I like somebody else, or I'm in love with somebody else," or whatever. And she's like, "What the heck?" And he's like, "No, I'm leaving." And his lifelong dream is to be a comedian. And then it turns out, like, she's the funny one. And so she gets, like, drunk. Mm-hmm. She goes to an open mic night and starts telling jokes. She's really just telling her life story. Like, "My husband just left me." Like, no, literally, like 45 minutes ago, he left me. And everyone's like, "Ah, ha, ha," and laughing. So she does this whole big set. And girl at the lady at the bar is like, "She's my comedian." And the lady who was at the bar, she wants to be an agent. And so she gets and her name is Midge Maisel. That's her husband's name. So she actually, like, divorces her husband and keeps his name. And so he's like, "And you're using my name?" But
oh my God.
Yeah, so she's the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. That's like her stage name.
Aww.
Yeah, and then so it's actually really interesting. But like I said, he keeps her name. So Shirley Maisel is actually her ex-mother-in-law.
And she's friends with?
They're actually friends with, like, her parents, right? Because Tony Shalhoub is her father.
Oh.
Is Mrs. Maisel's father.
Okay.
So they're friends. I think they're all Jewish. So, like, they're Jewish, and then so they're, like, this big, like, I think they're all Jewish. Family. But Shirley Maisel and they're super, like, Jewish. They're really funny. But it's a really good show. But if anyone, I'm sure a lot of people watch Maisel because of Tony.
That's a good premise. I love
that.
That's good.
It's a really good show. It's very clever. You have no clue what the show's about or where it's going. Because I never wanted to watch it. I thought it was, like, just set in the 50s. Like, I don't know what I thought it was.
I don't like Downton.
That's the 20s, but yeah.
Frick Downton Abbey.
Okay, I'm done with He's the Guy, though, so.
I am also done with He's the Guy because I never had anything to start He's the Guy with.
Oh, okay.
Did we just talk about one guy the entire time?
No, we talked about Shirley Maisel just now.
Yeah, but what was she in? Who was
Marvelous
she?
Mrs. Maisel.
Who was she?
You're gonna make me repeat everything I just said.
Karen. Oh, the aunt?
Caroline Aaron. Yeah. Oh, in the show, she's the wife who's like, wait, I tell a lie. We
Oh,
talked in the
yeah,
Mahjong
yeah.
group. Yeah, that one. Okay. All right, next is...
Junk time. Welcome back to my red diamond.
That again, really?
Okay, fine. I didn't do a good one last time, so I'll do a good one. Welcome back to my free time and yours in the show, where me and Kandyce eat junk and I eat junk.
Okay.
That was better.
Well, it was better, to be fair. Okay, I'm going to try a macaroon. Macaroon?
Just eat it. Macaroon. Did you not try one? It's like dry, but not dry. And it's weird.
This one's good.
That's okay.
Are they all like that?
I had like 50 of those.
Because look, that is different than that.
Yeah. I'll eat this one.
I wanted to see if it tasted different. Yeah. Split it with me. Because they all have different centers. This one has chocolate in it. That one's white, and this one is... Oh, this one's like marshmallowy.
Yeah.
Kind of. That's not bad.
I just took a marshmallow.
It definitely is different, though. It tastes different than that. What is that? We don't know what that is. There's another, like...
Didn't you eat it?
Yeah, I have no clue what it is. Taste it. It's super weird.
Whoa.
I thought it was peppermint. It looks like almost like a big giant Hershey's Kisses, like the shape of that, but it's just solid white. Like it's made out of icing, or is it like wafer?
Yeah, it's like a wafer. But it looks like a big dollop of sour cream.
Yeah, that's better.
I don't taste bad.
Those macaroons did not taste bad.
Wow, we changed each other's minds. I don't like those, and you don't like that.
Wow. I already tasted the Oreo truffles, and they're dang good. Mm-hmm. So, okay, do you know any magic tricks?
Yeah, I know, and I can do it right now.
Really? Cool, okay. For the fans? For the audience?
Oh.
You don't have one?
No. I meant to say, I was meant for you to say, whenever you said really, I was supposed to say no. And then I said yeah, and then I was like, crap.
Golly. Oh my gosh, what a disappointment.
I'm sorry.
I do know a few magic tricks, but they're card tricks. Like,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay. That was lame.
Well, have I done them on you before?
Probably not.
I should have brought my cards. But
Yeah.
nobody can see, though.
But the crap. Oh, yeah. That's true.
Yeah, nobody can see. Okay, what about this? Do you know how they do any of those tricks?
No idea.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Like the zigzag box? How do they do that? If anyone knows, send me some
Zigzag
info.
box does not exist. Well, I mean, during the zigzag
No,
box
those
thing,
exist. Those
it
exist.
showed inside of Monk's perspective during the zigzag box
Yeah.
thing, and it was his body was there.
Well, obviously, because they didn't chop him in half.
Well, I know.
But, like, yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, his body was there. He was looking down. And I would think this, because obviously, they can do anything they want whenever they have an assistant. Because the assistant knows how it's done. If the assistant has to go through a trap door, sit in a box, a certain way or whatever to make it appear that they're missing, then they can do that. But I don't understand how they get volunteers to get in a box and then their head is floating there and their feet are there, but there's emptiness in their midsections. How the heck do you do that?
Yeah, on the.
And then also, like, I should ask this first, but would you like to know how they do magic tricks? Or do you like how Natalie is like, no, Mr. Monk, don't tell me.
knowing.
Like, it'll ruin the illusion. I wouldn't like to know how every single magic trick is done. I feel like if someone told me a big one, how do you do this? I'd be like, okay. Because, like, when you don't know how to do anything, you're like, I don't get it. I don't understand. And it's so much, like, bigger and, like, mystical than you are. Mm-hmm. But if you're like, oh, that's how they do that? You know what I mean? It's like, then it kind of, it takes away, like, yeah, it takes away the illusion.
Lame,
yeah. Natalie's right. I agree with Natalie now.
Mm-hmm. I'm watching this thing. It says, cutting a woman in half gone wrong.
What?
I'm excited. And for some reason,
Okay, we're watching a video called
It won't go sideways.
Cutting a woman in half gone wrong.
Stalks around her here. Your hair out of your face there. Watch your shoulder.
Okay,
That's traumatizing.
we just watched. It was kind of a spoofy one though, where it was Penn and Teller on America's Got Talent.
Do you know who those are? Who Penn and Teller are?
Yeah, they're famous magicians.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, Penn and Teller, and they were on. That was America's Got Talent, right? And they were basically showing how a trick is done, but then like ending it with their own gag where they accidentally saw the lady in half and blood goes everywhere. So it was a different kind of video. But if that's how they did the trick, they basically are hiding this woman. They're making like the table depth look different. Like you think she's up on this table, but really she's kind of sunken in under the table. So whenever they saw her in half, but how did they pull the box apart? How did they pull the? I don't know. I don't know how they pulled the box apart.
Oh my god! I was like, oh yeah, that's how they did it, and they pulled it away, and they're like, this is how we did it, and I was like, oh, and then they cut her in half, and I was like, whoa, because they didn't obviously actually cut her in half. So now you're left with another question.
Okay. So that was. It was kind of educational though. It was in the sense of like they showed you like the false wall,
How
it looked. It was deceiving. However, again, that would have to be done with an assistant, not a person, not a volunteer, because the volunteer would know the trick. But wouldn't that go for any magic trick? If you ask for a volunteer to like get into your contraption that's totally rigged, you would figure out how to do it. That's dumb. You just would. Because they'd be like, what happened to your midsection when you were on stage? And you're like, nothing. Or I don't know. Maybe they'd be like, I don't know. What did it look like? Or, you know, I don't know. That's crazy though.
Yeah.
So I actually have been to a magic show. Have you been to a magic show before?
No.
Okay, I've been to a magic show. Look up on YouTube, illusionist Alex Ramon. A few years ago, we went to Lake Tahoe on vacation, and we went to an illusionist show. His name was Alex Ramon. It was a fantastic show. It was mind-blowing. I honestly can't remember all the tricks that he did, but there was one trick that we remember so well, and it was that he went out to the audience, and he asked 3 different strangers, audience members, for their wedding rings. And he inspected them. He looked at them. He asked, like, this is your wedding ring, right? Like, this is your wedding ring, okay? All right, it doesn't have any holes in it, doesn't whatever. He sticks it in a wine glass from 3 different strangers, and then he swirls them around, and they're connected. All 3 rings are connected from these total strangers. And so they're like, oh, what the heck? You know, everyone's like, holy crap. And then he goes back to the strangers, and he's like, can you, like, get the rings out? They get the rings out, and they inspect them, and they pull them apart. And then they're, like, freaking out, like, that's my wedding ring. Why, get it back, you know? Like, they're not freaking out, like, oh my God, get it back. They're just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
What the heck? You know, like, so you're thinking, like, this is totally real. Like, there are people, because they could be plants. They could totally be plants in the audience. But you're thinking, as an audience member, someone at the table right next to you, and another table across the way, and another table across the way. It's like, those people are, like, real people. Yeah. And he, like, swirls the cup. And then he like swirls it again and blows on it, and they all come apart, whatever.
That's so weird.
So I wanted to see if we could find that video.
That exact one?
Well, that's the one that Toby said was on YouTube.
There's a ton of it on YouTube.
It is actually linked to the others, and a nice loud voice will say yes. Yes!
No way.
Is that not crazy? Look, let's see how normal these people are though? Like,
that lady's normal. That was alright.
I know that it's, but when you say, if you've never been to a magic show, because that's the thing is, anything that you see on camera,
you could easily be faked.
Yeah, it could be faked, whatever. It's like, but I was in person and I saw that trick. And so again, like, unless those 3 audience members were in on it,
that was cool.
You know, but it was like, you're like, no way. Because he like does that. He walks into the crowd and like walks by you and you see them. And you saw 3 different people put rings in the thing and shake them around.
What if it was like those 3 people are... What, did you recognize them? It was like, wait a minute. She was when I was there.
Yeah. The same 3 people with the same rings.
Yeah.
I personally cannot imagine my wedding band linked to somebody else's ring and being like, yes, that's my ring. You know what I mean? Like, that would be, like, such a scary, like, exciting feeling.
Oh my god,
like,
what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, well, magic time is over.
Time to move on to... plot holes. Alright, Candace.
Okay. Do you have any plot holes? I actually barely have any.
I only have one.
You're welcome.
And you took it, now that I look at it.
Okay, well, then say it so I don't say it.
The random phone in the basement. The random...
Oh, I said it a long time ago. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, this isn't a super plot hole, but the next one is a recall to Monk getting buried alive, which you haven't seen that episode.
I do remember that.
And there's another callback to the eager Miss Teager.
The egos. What is that from? What is that from?
Dale the Whale.
Oh, yeah.
The eager Miss Teager.
I knew it. I recognize that. The
Yeah.
eager Miss Teager. Ah, that's funny.
And then I only have one more plot hole. It's kind of a two-parter, but they absolutely would not let Tarini leave after making Monk disappear.
Oh, yeah. They're like, he's like, talk to my lawyer. And they're like, okay.
He just leaves.
Yeah.
They wouldn't, and then this
Super
again. There's like a part A and part B, but they would never leave without finding Monk. Like, they wouldn't let him leave. They would never leave. And then my part B is they wouldn't check the trap door at the bottom first.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, this is the gimmick. This is how it works. I'm just as surprised as you are.
Yeah.
And
what?
they didn't like go, well, there's nothing underneath or on top.
Yeah.
Like, you would be thinking a logical person way, like, I'm not a magician, I don't know, but maybe he went on the bottom. Maybe somebody pulled him up from the top. And you start looking at those things, not like, I don't know, I'm just as surprised as you are.
Yeah.
No.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Okay, actually, I have, I talked about this with Toby. He couldn't debunk it, so maybe you can. Okay, I think this is even bigger than that one. Ready? Okay.
I'm bracing for impact.
Okay, so we know Kevin Dorfman, at the very beginning, he walks up to Tarini and says, hey, there's something wrong with your numbers here. The suitcases don't match up. They were heavier on the way back. Yep. So this is when Tarini realizes, oh, I've been caught. So then he says, actually, you know what? I want you to forget about it. What I really want you to do is fill in for me this Saturday magic show. So right then and there,
he thought of the entire plan.
Yes.
I'm sure it was a disposable thing that he had in case anyone ever caught him. Be like...
No, that can't be true.
Yes, that has to be true.
No. Maybe if Kevin ever caught him, because you wouldn't ask any random person. You wouldn't ask any random accountant who figured out your numbers to fill in for you. They're not all magicians. Kevin just happens to be a magician. And so he thinks instantly in that moment, actually, you know what? I'm going to kill you. So here's my plan. I am going to have you come here, and he comes up with the plan with, he specifically says, I'm going to take Tanya to Reno and ask her to marry me. So he made that plan to go to Reno, do the switcheroo, because even if he didn't make it in that moment, he said his plans. His plan was to go to Reno.
Yeah.
Like, he was putting that plan in motion. Is that not crazy to think he would come up with that fast?
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Okay.
The only logical explanation for that is that he had it disposable for anyone. Like, oh, you want to be a magician? But he was a smart guy as well.
And he just was saving poor Tanya and keeping her on the line until he wanted to kill somebody one day. Like, hey, I'm going to propose to my girlfriend today. This is the time.
Yeah.
All right. Sure. That was a lot of planning in like 0.2 seconds. I think it's not a bad one. I think it's pretty good.
That's a really good one.
Okay. All right. So I'm done with plot holes. Short and sweet. Ish. How crazy was Monk this episode?
Plus crazy moments.
Okay, out of 10 what?
Out of 10. Wait a minute. Out of 10 African Dorfmans.
Okay, that's the one. That was my main one that I put. I was like, Noah's totally going to say this, but in honor of Kevin, I'm going to put it anyway. So I've got out of 10 abracadorfmans, out of 10 trick knives, and out of 10 dead doves.
Trick knife.
Yeah, the trick knife. I thought that was cool. Remember, Monk it was a recall from Goes to the Theater.
Oh, yeah, when he's stabbing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he stabs Natalie
with
in the back. And with the
Or
real
with the
one.
real one, yeah.
She's like, ow! And he's like, this one is real. Don't play with this one. That's good. So yeah, and then the dead doves. Mm-hmm. I had to say that one. I thought that was cute.
The 3 dead doves.
And crazy moments. Do you have any?
Well, do I know?
Oh.
I thought it was an unspoken rule that you...
Oh, okay.
Now it's not unspoken anymore, Candyce. You ruined it.
Oh, okay.
What the heck?
Okay, I thought this was a kind of a strange one. When they're at the funeral, he shakes hands with, I guess, Tarini, and then he just starts wiping his hands all over Natalie. Instead of like a wipe.
Because she didn't have one. She wasn't giving it to him.
Oh,
that was one of my likes. What the frick? Oh, Monk's hand has a seizure because Natalie doesn't give him a wipe.
Oh.
And he's like, wipe.
Did she say she wasn't going to, or she just didn't?
She just didn't.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
See, that's weird. Why was she giving him the wipe? It was just kind of a random...
She didn't have her purse with her.
Oh, okay.
She's supposed to get a wipe. Candyce.
Okay, well. He won't get into the box with Kevin. He's scared of the breeding bunnies. He stabs Natalie. He can't get into the box the second time with Tarini on the stage. When he's down in the basement, and he's like, oh God, I'm gonna die down here. And she's like, that's right. We're gonna stick you in that furnace and we're gonna burn you alive. And he's like, I was talking about the soot. And then, of course, he won't take the key from the mouth of Tanya.
Candyce.
Out of 10 abracadorfmans, what are you going with?
7 out of 10.
Why?
3 of them, Monk. Regular Monk. I give him 3 out of 10 this episode. 4 of them are for the very end scene. Whenever he literally has a chance to escape from this entire... Although it was a stupid plan by Tanya, he has a chance to escape. She's giving him the key, and he spits it out and compromises both of them. So, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Mine is out of 10 abracadorfmans. I'm giving him 3.
Oh, wow, that's what I did before I changed it.
Such a liar.
That's what I did.
Well, then... I gave him 3 for not taking the key, but all the other ones, the wipes, he always uses a wipe, and so he didn't have one, so he used Natalie. He wouldn't get in the box. He wouldn't get in the box. The breeding bunnies that was just random. Like, it wasn't like he was just grossed out by the bunnies. He stabbed Natalie on accident. Like, it was an accident. He dying from the soot and not taking the key. Those are the craziest things.
Dying from the soot is not that bad, but the key was a whole 4 for me.
I could see that.
That was psychotic.
From an outsider.
What do you mean outsider's perspective? Is that not how we're grading this?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I gave him 3. I put, for not taking the key, strange to an outsider. Because if that was Natalie.
I don't even
look,
want to
if that was Natalie, like, if Natalie was doing that, she's not an outsider. She would never have tried to give Mr. Monk a key with her mouth. So...
What?
That's what I'm saying. We're talking about from an outsider's perspective, how we do all the time. Like, that is, you're correct. That's how we grade it. I would have rated it a 0, or not a 0, a 1. Like, I would have rated it a 1 for, like, Monk wasn't that crazy. Of course, he wasn't going to take a key from a lady's mouth. Of course, Monk would not do that. But she didn't know that, so that's crazy to an outsider. Like, why isn't this guy taking this key from my mouth? So I gave him some points for that. I'm just saying, I'm giving him a 3. You're giving him an 8, which is really high. So.
I gave him a 7.
Oh, you did? Oh, 3 plus 4, you're right.
Yeah. Math.
All right, let's do it. Final segment. Rate this episode. Okay, Noah, it's your turn to go first, because I got to choose.
Wait a minute.
Or do I want you to be convinced by me this time?
I want you to convince me, Candyce. Convince me.
But do you have a number?
Yes. I just don't. I'm not the best at explanations, and it's not as awkward if I slip in a. Oh well, I put it this out of 10, instead of me going, well, I hated this out of 10, and then you go, okay. Well, I really like the cinematic themes of this episode. You know.
I quite enjoyed this episode. I feel like this is the best villain we've seen for some time. Probably since The Genius. The inherent mystery of magic lended to the monk mystery. I liked the how did he do it aspect, which is some of the best monk episodes in my opinion, is how the person did it. And the phone line, I didn't mind it. This episode really did it for me, and R.I.P. Kevin Dorfman. I'm going with a 10.875.
Wow. 10.875. I don't hate it. I think this episode was a little gimmicky, if you ask me.
Okay.
It was a little gimmicky. I do like when they do the gimmicks, though, with the genius, and it's like, well, I'm playing chess, and then let's do this checkmate. Oh, you just got owned. Like, you know, I don't really...
Like abracadabra.
Yeah, I don't love that, but I think they did it well because Kevin... I think they did it well because, like, you know, it was better than checkmate at the end. It was like a abracadorfman because, you know, it just had higher stakes, like you said earlier, with Kevin. And, yeah, I don't like the gimmicks, but Kevin kind of raised it up. So, 8. 2 8s in a row this week because I don't like the submarine, and I accidentally rated the submarine super high, and so now I just have to make sure everything's above the submarine.
What did you rate the submarine?
7. Isn't that a really high?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm not proud of that at all.
But I said 6.5.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that far off, but I debated also giving this one a 9. Because I don't think I've handed out any other 9s that I can remember, except for like an even 9. I've done 9.75s and stuff, but like an even 9. I think it was Mr. Monk and the Miracle is the one that we both gave it a 9, which had the hobos and them dressed up like monks. But that one was funnier than this one though.
What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
Hobos dressed up like monks?
No, it had hobos and they dressed up like monks, like Monk, Natalie, and Stottlemyre dressed up like monks.
My brain just had a seizure.
Don't understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Captain Stottlemyre.
You just said hobos dressed up like monks.
No.
And Captain Stottlemyre, Natalie, and Randy, monks dressed up like monks.
Oh my gosh. These are 2 separate sentences. Okay. There was hobos in that episode. Period.
I remember that.
Also,
I remember
they
the episode.
dressed up like monks.
I remember the episode.
Okay, thank you.
But they didn't dress up like... Monk dressed up like a monk.
Natalie and Stottlemyre were all monks. They snuck into
Stottlemyre did not dress like a monk.
He was a monk. Okay. For a day, he was a monk. Jeez.
And then his head was shaved?
His beard, his mustache.
His mustache was shaved.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't. I remember that.
And then, you know what we didn't talk about? In that episode, we did not talk about the summation where Monk was like, here's what happened.
Oh, yeah. We didn't talk about summation in this one either. And then there was no summation, was there?
Well, yeah, when he started and he said, here's what happened. And the guy's like,
but that was it.
Yeah, he just explained it. I think he explained it.
In the basement.
Yeah, afterwards. But in the Miracle, because then, remember, Monk is like, here's what happened. Because they're singing, and then Natalie comes in and is like, he wanted to do...
Oh, yeah.
And it's so bad.
That was terrible.
We didn't talk about that.
That was so bad.
So I think somebody made a comment about it on YouTube and was like, oh my gosh, it was so funny when Natalie was a monk. And I was like, oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about that.
Oh.
Yeah. So. Sorry, YouTube.
YouTube bugs. YouTube frogs. We should call them YouTube frogs. Because I like frogs.
YouTube nationers.
YouTube Nation. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Junk Monk vlog. I'm a vlogger. I don't know what I'm talking about, Candyce.
A minute ago, your voice went pretty deep. You were mimicking somebody, and you were like...
Me?
Yeah.
No.
It's so funny, because ever since you were little, your voice has been super deep.
I know. That's what everyone tells me.
I'm sure you'll look back at
was
this
just-
podcast in a couple years and be like, oh my gosh, I sound like a little
grown man.
little
A little male. Oh.
no.
No man, shorty.
What? What? No. Man, I should have brought my cards to do magic tricks. I showed them to my nephew the other day. He was amazed.
The little one?
Yeah, he's like 7. And I was like,
He's 7?
yeah. He's almost 7 in April.
He's 6.5. Same.
Well,
You round it up.
we're pretty close to April, so not a half. But
Okay.
yeah.
6 and
Only little kids say and a half.
6 and
7/8.
okay, God. Okay, chill out.
10/12.
Yeah, it's 10/12. Idiot! You just said 7th. Oh wait,
What's divided by 2 divided by 2?
5 and 6.
7?
5, 6.
Oh, 5, 6.
Idiot.
Okay,
Different.
guys. That was Mr. Monk and the Magician.
Really?
Next week. You know what next week is?
Mr. Monk and the Homeless Man.
No, it's the season finale.
Oh yeah.
What?
I accidentally watched a little bit of it.
What? Why
I
are you
did.
so...
No, I only watched like the first like 10 seconds of it and it was so good, guys. I'm so excited. Guys, so basically they're tearing down this one part of the city, but it's where Trudy died. Bum, bum, bum.
Spoiler alert.
To be did you not remember that?
Well, I didn't know what the episode was.
It was Mr. Monk in City Council.
Oh, thanks for telling me now.
Okay, you're welcome. Golly. So basically, it's about
Okay, what? You're gonna read the synopsis next week anyway, so...
No, please, no.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I get to choose. I like this new thing.
You get rewarded for doing your job? Awesome, I love it. Oh my gosh.
I love it too. It's the best. But yeah, it's gonna be great next week. It's a great I haven't watched it. I've seen like the first minute. Okay, and I saw Monk because they're like, "There's a dude in here." Oh God, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, he watched the end too, guys. Stick around to hear the whole episode
Trudy
on this episode.
comes back.
Oh my gosh, you're literally the worst.
It was a joke.
Okay, guys, before this gets out of control.
It actually happens, guys.
Okay. Stop. So stupid.
Busted. Goodness.
What?
This is our second to last season finale.
I know. It's really sad.
Oh
It's
my
so sad.
gosh. I'm excited.
We're gonna have to pull out all the stops.
What are we doing? Tell them to stop, Candyce.
Oh,
Tell
wait.
them. And
Wait,
we'll
all
pull
the
them out.
Well, I don't really have any stops. I was kind of exaggerating.
What the
I
crap?
have no stops.
I'm all out of stuff.
It's a figure of speech, guys.
I was pulling out the stops with like the whole to be continued thing, and then you kept on talking.
You mean I kept interrupting you into not telling everybody the whole episode?
I didn't watch it. I literally told you the first minute. I want to watch it. Can we
And a
watch it
little bit
downstairs?
after the credits.
Right after this?
I have to go home. Yeah. The one time you want to watch an episode. Oh my gosh.
I'm so excited. It looks so good. I'm going to watch
Well-
it by myself as soon as you leave.
All right, guys. Rambling is done.
People who did not watch last episode are going to be so confused. Like,
Well, hopefully you're watching in order, guys. Don't be weird.
What the crap?
That was so aggressive. Twinkies all over again.
Bro, what the what is wrong with you? And then I shoved the male teacher. Okay.
Abracadorfin. That's how we'll end it.
Abracadabra. We'll say it on 3. Abracadorfman. Mwah.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Junk Monk Podcast. We'd love to hear from you, so please give us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, follow us at Junk Monk Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
If you want to know more about Kandyce, she's at Hardens and Hardhats on Instagram. And if you want to know more about me, Noah L., subscribe to my vlog, Noah Hernandez, on YouTube. Also, you can leave us a voicemail at 323-366-0477 with your questions, comments, or just to show us some love.
Don't forget to catch up on Monk with Amazon Prime Video, and of course, subscribe to our show.
You'll thank me later.